The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to the Tower Coverage Getting Started Basics webinar. I apologize for the delay, but today we're going to cover setting up your account, all of the basic features. We'll kind of touch base on everything, also go over some of the new features that are also available as well. If you have any questions, there is a questions box. Type them in there. I'll try to address them as we go, and I'll also cover them at the end. Any questions that anybody has. Also, you can also give us a call if your questions aren't answered here, or you have later questions. You can give us a call 636-671-6262 as our Tower Coverage support line, or you can email us at support@TowerCoverage.com. Once you are registered and logged into your account, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure all of your account settings are up to date, accurate. In your account settings in the company profile, this here will actually determine if you do a public map, it will determine what the name and address and everything that shows up on the pin. So you want to make sure this is up to date. The country selection, this will allow you to be able to see, or if you're not in the United States, this FCC box will go away, which is why I had mine set different, so it would go away. But once you have all of your company information and everything set up, you can go in, you can add users. You can add three different types of users. You can have up to 3 admin users. We do recommend that if you don't want somebody having access to all aspects of your account, you do not make them an admin, because to have an admin removed, you do have to contact support, and we have to remove the admin status for you. But you can add input users. The input users can create coverages, do path analysis, create links, edit your multi-maps, all of that. They cannot delete anything, though. So then after you have an input user in there, they can't do anything with your account settings, though. So it all depends on what level you want each of your users to have. And the final type of user is the read-only user. The read-only user is exactly that. All they can do is see the maps and look at your coverages and stuff like that. They can't do any editing or changing of anything. When you're creating your users, you can also set their start page. So as you see here, I have a sales team user here, and with the sales team user, I can tell the actual user login to start them on a multi-coverage, and then you can select which multi-map they actually open up on. What that does is as soon as they log in, it automatically goes to the multi-map for the network. The next thing you're going to want to do, if you want to upload one of your logos, what this does is when you're creating a point-to-point link, if you want to print that link out, whenever you print it, instead of the Tower Coverage logo being at the top, it'll be your logo. In the EUS settings, these are the actual settings that control how your iframe looks and behaves. You can't actually change any of the visual aspects of the iframe, but you can change if you want your iframe to be in a different language, you can simply come in here and change it in here. You can add your Google Analytics ID, so that way your Google Analytics shows the activity of your EUS iframe. You can tell the settings how you want the iframe to react or respond to your customers as they fill it out. After they complete it, you can show them your coverage map with a thank you message. The thank you message is right here. You can add as much as you want here, but you should keep it short, and you cannot put any return characters in there. So keeping that short, shorten to the point, and just to let them know that you'll give them a phone call or something like that. If you want to do something more, then redirecting them to a different page on your site is also an option. You can set your default settings. If you don't want to, it'll just show the the state or country or whatever you're in. If you set this, it'll by default set when the iframe opens up, it'll automatically have it United States and Missouri. It basically just knocks some steps off for your customers. You can change your you can add custom pin types. We have several different icons here. You simply just select an icon, give it a name. There's 4 in here by default. The serviceable, no new EUS, no service installed. You can add as many as you want, or you can remove them. Totally up to you. It just makes it to where your end user submission data, it allows you to be able to mark them and identify them on the map much better. In your API settings, what this does, there's several different things in here. This is where you'll track your API calls if you're using the API. The iframe does not consume any API calls from your account. The EUS billing API also does not consume any API calls from your account. The API calls there's several features that use the API calls. A bulk end user submission reprocess uses them, or if you bulk update your coverages, it will also use them. Or if you don't like the look of the EUS iframe, you can use the Eus Api Template Generator. This allows you to make a completely custom form. We give you the base code. You do have to have a Google Map key. The reason for this is because the iframe is being operated off of our web server and uses our Google Map key. As this form, it's going on your server, so therefore you have to have your own key. You can easily get a Google Map key by just signing into your Google account and then going to console.developer.google.com and get a Google Map key, and you want to make sure that you enable JavaScript and geocoding. Then you just paste the key that you obtained, paste it here in this Google Map key. Set the settings however you want, change your pin colors, and then you simply click show code. You copy that and you paste it into your website. You can modify that code any way you wish, but this is just a template. Some type web page designers, the way this code is written, it won't look exactly like this in different types of web designers. It all depends on the platform you're using, but this is a good way to get you started, to be able to have a form exactly how you want. The land cover settings in TowerCoverage, we use USGS data. It's 1 arc-second data. Basically, what this does, though, it allows you to adjust or compensate for different tree densities depending on where you're at in the world. It also allows you to create multiple land cover types. The land cover types, you can create a land cover type for your 900 megahertz, one for your 2.4, one for your 5 gig, one for your 365 stuff. What this does is makes it to where whenever a calculation is being done for a path analysis or an EUS submission, it allows the amount of RF penetration that's going through to be calculated more accurately, because you're changing the density, adjusting the density in accordance with how much that the frequency you're using can actually penetrate the land cover. So a good example of this is if we want to create, when we create our coverages or we're doing a link, if we want to not show anything unless it is 100% clean and clear line of sight, we can do a land cover full. So this one here is called testing land cover, and you'll see that the density is set to the maximum of 10,000. The density is 0 to 10,000, not 0 to 100. Keep that in mind. So 10,000 would be equivalent of 100%, 5,000 would be 50%. The height is in meters, and you can adjust all of them individually, the different types of trees. Every single area on the map, it is broke down into a different type. So you don't have to worry about if, is it going to use the right one or anything like that. The map already knows. When doing your urban build-up stuff, This one is a little bit not as accurate as tree coverage because the map doesn't know how tall each individual building is. In your area, oak trees are generally all the same height, so on and so forth. Different types of trees generally stay the same height. Buildings don't. So every urban area is classified as urban buildup low or urban buildup high. You can see all of this map data on your coverage as well, and I will show you that once we get to a coverage. You can view what is actually assigned in every single area of your coverage. The overlay management allows you to upload any type of overlay. It's a KML or KMZ format. It has to be less than 3 meg in size. Make sure you don't have any special characters or spaces in the name when you're uploading it, and this allows you to actually upload a previously created overlay that you've been using and add it to Tower Coverage. An overlay that you upload will not be considered in a path analysis in a US submission though. So keep that in mind when adding overlays. If you want it to be returned as a result in your path analysis, you'll need to create a coverage for those, not put them in as an overlay. Antenna patterns can also be added to Tower Coverage. We have many different antennas already available within the site, but we also added the availability to add antenna patterns. To add an antenna pattern, you will need to contact the manufacturer of the antenna that you wish to use and request the radio mobile compatible.ant file from them. It does have to be radio mobile compatible, otherwise Tower Coverage will not, you cannot upload it into Tower Coverage. If they do not have the file available, you also have the option of downloading the antenna pattern creation document, and it's very simple. It's a little more time consuming because you're putting in antenna powers and gains, but you can create your antenna antenna file as well and upload it into your account simply by hitting add new. You save the file as a CSV and import it into your account. Your payment details is where you can view all the payments that you have done, and you can also print your monthly invoice. If you need an invoice for your subscription payment, you can simply come here and print your invoices out. The Tower Coverage Wiki has a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of things on the wiki that will assist you if you have questions. Like I said before, you can go to the wiki, you can give us a call, or you can send us an email at support@TowerCoverage.com, and you can always find those right here as well. Once your account is all taken care of and all set up, you're going to want to get your sites added into your account. A site is a tower location. You only need one site per tower location. There's many different ways to actually add your towers. You can search by address at the top of the map, and it will locate, it'll geolocate it, and it'll move the map pin automatically when the map pin moves. Anytime the map pin moves, no matter how you do it, the latitude and longitude automatically update. If you click on the map, you can also just find your location and click on the map. Once again, the latitude and longitude will automatically change. You can enter it in degrees, minutes, seconds. Keep in mind with the latitude and longitude, or degrees, minutes, seconds, latitude and longitude, you will need to put the degrees in a positive or negative value in accordance with what hemisphere you're on. So the Western Hemisphere longitude is negative, Eastern Hemisphere longitude is positive. On the latitude, Northern Hemisphere is positive, Southern Hemisphere is negative. Same applies for the DMS as well. Your description and group fields can be used however you wish. The description group, if you put a URL into the description field, such as www.TowerCoverage.com, you'll see that it actually changes it. So this is so that way whenever you add your towers or your coverages to your multi-map, if you select the options to show pins, you can click on the pin, and that becomes a clickable link inside the info window. You can use that for your sales team, however you wish to use it, but it's just a nice little thing that adds a benefit to using the fields. You can select the different colors of pins. Using these will allow you to identify backbone towers or repeaters or pop locations, whatever you wish to do. Once you have everything in, you're going to want to give it a name, something identifying. Obviously, you want to be able to tell which tower is which, and then you hit Create New Site. The other option, when you click Create New Site, it's just going to automatically update it. So now we have this site. The other option is to import your tower locations via CSV. You simply download the import template. The import template allows you to give a name, the latitude and longitude. On the import, the latitude and longitude have to be provided in decimal GPS. They cannot be DMS. The description and group columns can be completely blank, and the height has to be entered in meters. Once you have that, you save it as a CSV, you choose your file, and you simply import it into your account. It only takes a matter of seconds, and all of your tower locations will be added. Once you have all of your tower locations in, you can then there's a couple different things you can do. You can first go in and create radio systems. If you wish, you do not have to. You can add your coverages one at a time if you like. But if you create a radio system, if you have a common setting throughout your network, then you are able to apply that. It's essentially a cookie cutter that you can apply over and over again. This allows you to use the same thing over and over again without having to insert all the values. These settings in the radio system, we'll see those in the coverage as well. Or you can just simply go to new coverage, and once you go to create a new coverage, as I said, the radio systems will will show up here in this in the drop-down window. You do not have to use a radio system; it is completely optional. As you can see, it's an optional value. You do not have to do anything with it at all if you don't want to. Once you have all your tower sites in, you'll see that they're all populated here. As soon as you select the tower site, it will automatically populate the meters field with whatever you set the default height on the tower site to. The reason for that is just to simplify things for you. If this antenna or coverage is not at the top of the tower, we can simply change it so that way we put it at the actual real height. You can enter it in meters or feet, whichever you wish. If you enter it in feet, it's going to automatically convert it to meters for you. The RX threshold this setting here is the minimum signal required for a successful install. If this coverage, if off this sector, our minimum signal is a -72, that's what I'm going to put here. Keep in mind, if you're creating LTE coverages, the RX threshold it will display signal projection in RSSI, not RSRP. So in your LTE clients, you're getting RSRP, which is approximately 20 dB difference. So a -72 would be a -92 is what you would see in an LTE client. Your required reliability percentage is to add or subtract statistical loss. What this allows you to do is to compensate for different things like free space loss, loss per distance. If the noise floor is bad in your area, you can turn this up to add more loss to compensate for a lot of noise on the frequency that you're on in the area. It allows you to make minor adjustments so that way if after you create a coverage, you can take data points. If you take 3 customers and you test what the signal projection is to those 3 customers on tower coverage, and your account is displaying that signal, say all 3 of them have a -60. Well, tower coverage is projecting that they have -65. So it's saying it's too weak. So we would turn this down just a little bit, so that way less loss is added, and then all 3 of the projections would be closer to what you see in reality. It's basically a way for you to just simply make small modifications or adjustments to get your coverages more and more accurate. The signal margin is simply just the difference between the strong color and the weak signal color. It uses the RX threshold and the signal margin, and that determines where the 2 different colors on your coverage will display. If you set this down to 2 with a neg 72 for your RX threshold, you can see that the weak signal color is going to show out on the outer fringe of your coverage, and anything in that weak signal color is going to be anything in the red is going to be a neg 72 to neg 70 projected signal. Anything that's hotter than a neg 70 will display in the strong signal color. You can change these colors to whatever you wish to change them to, but keep in mind when a coverage is added to a multi-map, they will be changed back. The coverage will stay the same, but they will display on a multi-map in the default colors of light green and dark green. On the use land cover, if you set the use land cover to no, basically it will not consider any trees or buildings at all. We do not recommend that you do this. We do recommend that you use the clutter data for better accuracy. Your land cover types, as you can see from our when we went over the land cover settings, all of the land cover types that we created here. So for example, on this one, if this is one that I want complete line of sight, I would put the one that I set where it has 10,000 for density. Use two rays. This is to consider multipath reflection. It is also a good setting to turn on for LTE. Create view shed option. This is one that a lot of people they believe that the create view shed is to actually create the coverage. That's not the case. If you turn this on, it will do the opposite of turning the land cover off. It will use the height settings of your land cover, but it will ignore your density settings and it'll set all of them to max. Average client antenna height, if this coverage here is a bunch of one-story ranch houses around it, you're going to want to set it to 3 or 4 meters, something like that. If it's a bunch of 2- and 3-story houses in a subdivision or whatever the situation, you'll want to set it higher. You think about the area that you're in, and that's what you want to use for your average. Your client antenna gain, we recommend that whatever the largest antenna that you use to do installs off of this coverage, we do recommend that you use the largest antenna that you have available for this coverage. The reason for this is if you put a smaller antenna, there's going to be areas that show no coverage, but simply having a larger antenna that you have available, it would actually get the signal. Your RX and your TX line loss, for most situations with integrated antennas, 0 or a 0.5 is completely sufficient. If you are using something like things such as LMR or anything like that, you will want to look at the specifications of the cable. They all have a specification that tells you how much loss per foot. Calculate that out and put that value into these fields. The transmitter settings, your coverage name, you're going to want to give it something identifying. So that if this is my Tower A 5 gigahertz coverage, that's what I'm going to want to put here. If you're just doing a single coverage, it's a good idea to put what direction it's facing, north or something like that. If you're going to use the coverage array feature, if you just put Tower A 5 gigahertz, the coverage array feature will utilize the antenna azimuth to tack on the direction onto the end of the name. So if I'm going to do an array setting, so we'll do 60-degree panels. It automatically sets the EUS beam width filter. The beam width filter does not affect propagation of the coverages. All this does is restricts a EUS or a path analysis from happening outside the beam width. So if you have a 60-degree panel and you set the beam width filter to 60, it's going to allow EUS and path analysis 30 degrees to the left and 30 degrees to the right of the center line. If it is 1 degree outside, your path analysis is going to return and say the link is not possible to this location, even though they fall in in the actual propagation or the colored area, it's going to show them in colored area, but because the beam width filter is restricted to what the advertised is, it's not going to give results. On a 60-degree panel, you could set this to 90, or you don't have to go that much, but that will allow the side lobes of the antenna to actually be utilized in a path analysis in EUS. Whenever you're setting your transmitter settings, you're going to want to put the actual gain of your antenna in dB. When you're doing these settings, you don't want to use your EIRP. You want to use the real settings because this will calculate it for you. Your azimuth is in degrees. If you don't know what degree it is, you can enter a value in here, and you'll see on the left-hand side the little compass will turn with you. So that way you can kind of point it in the correct direction that you want to go. For this one, for simplicity purpose and showing you the coverage array settings, we'll go ahead and set it to 0. 0 and 360 are both due north. We're going to set it to 5 gigahertz, so that will do 5100 megahertz. Exact center frequency, we can leave this blank. You do not have to. This does not affect propagation either. This is for the frequency coordination feature, and we'll go over that when we get to a multi-map. Once again, your TX power, enter this in dBm. Your line loss, same thing as your RX threshold, or excuse me, your RX settings. Rendering quality, if you're trying to process coverages quickly, you can set it to low resolution. It'll process much faster. Once your coverages are all honed in, you've adjusted your reliabilities, you've tested with path analysis, then you can go back in and you can set them to high or very high. Then you get a cleaner and crisper map, but they do take a little bit longer to process. The maximum range, you can turn this all the way down to 1 kilometer. The default is 20. It is more the recommended because if you set your max range down to 1, the resolution of the terrain data is going to be a lower resolution because it has to be zoomed in more. We don't recommend going down that far, but you can. The propagation will not generate colored propagation past 30 kilometers. But if you you can set it all the way up to 70 if you wish if you wish to be able to do link path and stuff beyond the 30 kilometer coverage area. As I said, we do have the coverage array feature, so you can plot a coverage array. By default, the evenly spaced value is turned on. What this does with if you take 4 60-degree panels, it's going to ask you what the advertised is. That's how it determines what direction to point everything, and also the evenly spaced determines that as well. So if we say to evenly space our 60-degree panels, which is what they're advertised at, but we are not going to put up 6, we're only going to put up 4. What this is going to do, it's going to use the antenna azimuth, and it's going to evenly space them all the way around the tower. And as you can see, it created 4 sectors all at once. It put our name that we selected, the tower, 5 gigahertz, and then it tacked on the direction at the end of it. So it created a 0 degree, a 90, a 180, and a 270 sector. Once you have all your sectors created, then you can click on multi-map and go to new multi-map up here, or you can just hover on it and go to new. Creating a multi-map is very simple. You can simply search for any parameter you wish, and it'll narrow it down automatically. Or if you want to do them all, you can do check all, add selected. You'll give it a name. You can select whether or not to show pins on the multi-map, or you can leave them off. If you select to put the pins on your site, if you use the website integration, your tower locations are not going to show. They're not going to display to your customers, so you don't have to worry about that. This is just for internal purposes. The EUS data collection form, what this does is tells the iframe, if you use the website integration, it tells the iframe whether or not to display the form or display a map. And I will show you that inside a multi-map as well. Display fiber on iframe. This makes it to where whenever we do have the fiber coverages, and we'll go over those in a minute, but this allows you to display them or not on the iframe. Any fiber coverages that you include in the multi-map, they will display in your account automatically, but they will not display to your customers. So it's totally up to you. Make this map publicly viewable. That's if you would like this map to be displayed on the Tower Coverage public map. Displaying a map on the public map allows you also to receive submissions from our Find a Provider on our main page. So if a customer in your area is looking for internet service and they don't happen to find your website, but they stumble across Tower Coverage, we have a Find a Provider. If they fill out the form, if they're within 50 miles of you, we're going to send you an email excuse me, and let you know that somebody in your area is looking for service. Here's what their projected signal is to your network. Once you have a name, you selected your coverage, you can set your zoom level, whatever you wish to set. If you go all the way down this way, it's going to be a world view. If you go all the way in, it's basically going to be almost street view. So how you can adjust this after the map creates. It's not a permanent setting, so you don't have to worry about that. You can adjust it however you want later on, but by default, it's in the midline. You simply hit create. A multi-map will process much faster. It is a collection of the information already generated in the coverages. So as you can see, it doesn't take very long at all. Before we get into the multi-map, we'll cover the fiber coverages. To create a fiber coverage is very simple. These can also be used to in your path analysis. Where'd I go? There we go. So on a fiber coverage, the limit for creating a fiber coverage, the maximum distance is 70 kilometers. The maximum number of pinpoints is 25 pins. If you need more than 25 pins, you do have to start where you left off and create another coverage. Or if it's longer than 70 kilometers, you will need to do the same thing as well. To create a fiber coverage is very, very simple. You just you can zoom in and get very detailed with it, or you can just kind of get a roundabout area as well. You just give it an identifying name. Your distance allowed will determine whenever a path analysis or an EUS submission comes in, the distance that you specify that you wish to know if they're within range. This is where that calculation comes from. If you put in 100 meters, when we create this fiber coverage, it's going to create a polygon based on the distance that you set. The strand count, the color, the nodes, the mode selection, and the type are simply for your nodes purposes. They do nothing to the actual creation of the fiber coverage. Fiber coverages don't need to actually do any major calculations. They do create very quickly. And as you can see, it's already created. Once you've created the fiber coverage, as I said, you can change these as well if you want to. If you didn't get detailed enough, you can hit your edit path, and you can move these to anywhere you want. And they'll automatically update. You can do the same thing with your add current points as well. It will start you on the end, and you can add more points. like I said before, if you're already at the 25 point count, it's not going to let you add more. You will have to start a new coverage. But once all your coverages and your fiber coverages are in, then you created your multi-map. You can go and open any of your multi-maps that you wish, and you can see everything on your map. The multi-map has a lot of different features built into it. So all of the settings that you see on the toggle switches up here, they will automatically update. So as I said before, you have the display fiber. So if we have our EUS data collection off and our display fiber on, and we hit test iframe, you'll see that the iframe code that would go on your website has all of the fiber coverages that are in the map. If we turn our EUS data collection on and we hit display iframe, the iframe code is the EUS submission form. This is also a way to enter data into your account. Your sales team can use this. This form is not just a display. It actually works. It actually submits data to your account. If they are sitting and talking on the phone with a potential customer, they can have the map open. They can hit test iframe. They can ask them the questions, fill out the form, submit to the account, and it'll give them the results very quickly. The other option is to do a path analysis. You can do a search with address or GPS, or as before, you can just click on the map and it'll add the pin. Once you click on the map and you have the little green pin, you can hit path analysis. Then you have the option here whether you can just hit OK, and it will use the settings from your coverage, the client average antenna height. It'll use that to calculate your 6 best possible links. Or if you're on the phone with the customer and they say they have a tower in their backyard, you can use a custom height and say they got a 30-meter tower in their backyard. So now it will use that 30-meter tower location to calculate it. You can move your slider here, and whichever one you're currently on, it'll move the orange dot. So you can try to determine what's in the way. So for example, on this one, if we wanted to see where that ridge is, it's right here. As I said before, your zoom level can be changed automatically. These also automatically update. If we change our zoom level and we refresh our map, it automatically stays there. So whatever you set your zoom level to with this slider, it's going to automatically do it. And the next time you open your map, that's where it's going to be. The opacity is not a saved setting. This is simply just so you can see things through the map. By default, no matter what you set your coverage density to, then it's going to automatically go back to the 50% opacity when it comes to a multi-map. But if you want it lighter to be able to see through it, then you can do that. You can, in your account settings, as I said before, with your overlays, you can add those to your multi-map. But keep in mind, they will not be considered when doing a path analysis. So this overlay, for example, is just the county lines of the United States. You can change your map type if you don't like the type that it is. You can do, I don't have link groups in here. View your frequencies. If I set it, oops, not 5.1. Give me one sec. Apparently I didn't set any of those center frequencies. I apologize for that. You can view your frequency overlays if we find one that actually has one in it. Nope, I apologize for that. But anyway, your frequency overlays will display, depending on what you set the center frequency to. If you have them set on all of your coverages, it will show a different color for each frequency, and it'll use the beam width, the advertised beam width of the sector to display a different color for each one. If two of the same color overlap, then you know you're possibly interfering with yourself. Excuse me. Once you have your map all set up, you can integrate it. As I said before, you can integrate it very simply to your website by simply copying the iframe code and then pasting it on there onto your website. Or you can use the EUS, the custom form, the Eus Template Generator, and do it that way as well. Once you start collecting your data, all of your data is going to come into your account, into your EUS data. You're going to get an email that shows you the 6 best possible links, and it's also going to be added to your EUS data of your account. What this does is allows you to actually monitor and keep track of customers that were installed, that were not installed, they weren't able to get service, they declined for the time being, whatever the case is. They're all going to come in as a new EUS. You can change them to whatever pin type that you wish to do. Once we install them, we can change it to an installed pin. Or if there's just no service, we can change it to a no service pin. It'll make them red X's. You can edit and reprocess them if you add more maps, or you want to see what their signal would be to a different map. You can do that as well. You see now it's completely changed because now it used the other multi-map. So now this customer would be serviceable or installed. They're not in any fiber. This location is not in any fiber coverages. Shows you that it didn't actually land in any of the fiber polygons. And then once you start collecting all of your EUS data, you can go back in later. You can do a quick search to narrow it down, or you can do an advanced search. In the advanced search, if you decide you want to be able to view this all the time, you can say no service. We can select just simply the no service icons, and we can hit submit. And it's only going to show the no service EUS submissions. So if you go into your EUS data, you hit view all, you go to your saved searches, and we hit view no service. It will automatically update. No matter what the changes are in your data, it's going to update all the time. So even just because there's one in here now, if tomorrow we added 15 no service, that save search is going to show you what the current status of your data is. Once you have saved searches as well, you can do best tower feature. Our best tower feature allows you to create that no service pin type, save that as a search, and then 6 months down the road, if the amount of calls you're getting is dwindling down, or you want to roll out another tower, you can figure out where to roll that tower out. You come in here and you select new. You select the save search that you want to use. You specify a name. You set your settings and what the height of the tower that you would like to create is, and you hit create. They do take a little bit of time to process. It is millions and millions of calculations. They anywhere from 2 minutes to 16 minutes roughly is the longest one I think I've seen. But once it's done processing, you can hit view, and this is going to pop up. It's going to give you a heat map. For this example, 28 records were submitted. Here are the settings that we submitted to it. We can change the opacity if we want. What this does is shows you that with the records submitted, the more customers or submissions that were able to be reached, the RX threshold was able to be reached, the warmer the color is going to get. Anywhere where it's really dark red, almost all, if not all of them were reached. Out where it gets in the cooler colors, it means less people were able to be reached with those settings. Once you find one of those locations, if you're actually going to build a tower, you can simply click on it. It'll give you the latitude and longitude. It'll also give you the address of the location. Or if you don't actually want to build a tower, all these little orange dots, that's FCC ASR database populating within the map. You find one of them that's in one of the warm areas. You click on it, and there's the registration for the FCC. It'll take you right to it. It'll give you the contact information and everything about that tower that you want to know. That same information can also be seen within your multimap. So each time the map moves, it removes the previously loaded, and it loads wherever the center of your map is. It gives you all the towers within 20 miles of wherever you move the map to. Another way to track your customers would be do it from a single coverage. If you go into a single coverage and you drop a pin, you can hit path analysis. What this does is allows you to either do a single path analysis or you can save it. You do not have to save the link. If you're just wanting to see what the results would be, you just hit don't save and it will pop up. If you wish to save it, if you do the path analysis, you can give it a name, and it's going to say, when you hit save, it's going to save that path analysis as a link in your account. Your links can be viewed and adjusted. It will give you a projected signal. You can also download the Google Earth Flyby. What this will do will give you a point-to-point KML with appropriate heights on both sides, and in Google Earth you can do fly path and it'll fly down the line, and if 3D imagery is available in your area, you'll be able to see if it's actually in the way. You can print your link. This is the logo that we put in our account settings, or you can change whatever. If you want to try a different location, you can change them and they update automatically as well. And these settings are basically all the settings that you see in a coverage. An antenna file is not used because a point-to-point link assumes good line of sight and proper alignment. So antenna patterns are not required. And then you can take your links and you can create a link group out of them. You can name them whatever you want as well. You can select the color and you can add them. They'll come over and be put in there. It creates a link group. You can use this to identify links between backhauls, backbone, your backbone network, whatever you wish to do. So now we have our huge link, which is pretty funny. Didn't realize those towers are that far apart whenever I was clicking, but it shows them. Then you're able to click on your map, on your lines, and you can see what the statistics of those would be. And you can turn those on and off as you wish. If you have a lot of changes, as I said before, there are some features that utilize API calls. One of them is the bulk update, but it is a very handy tool. You can check all of them, hit update checked. It'll give you a thumbnail view of all your coverages, and you can change all or just one setting if you wish. If you're just wanting to change the color of all of them, you turn it on and you select it, and it'll do just that change. If I wanted to turn my 2 rays on all of them, I could do that. And it'll only do the ones that are in the left-hand window. If you decided, I don't want to change these last ones, you can just take them out just by clicking X, and it'll remove them out. All right, let's, looks like I got some questions here as well. If anybody else has any questions, like I said, please be sure to pop them in the questions box so that way we can answer any questions that you might have. Oh, okay, required reliability. By the way, we are recording it. A little while after we're done, the video does have to update and everything, but it will be available. We do post all of the recorded webinars on the Tower Coverage Wiki. If you go to the Wiki and you just search all pages for webinar, you can view all of the previously recorded ones as well. Tower Coverage webinar videos. So all the ones that we recorded previously are up here. But I will go over, so the required reliability, what that does is to add or subtract statistical loss. I can actually show you a good example with a link. So with this link, you'll see that the projected signal is a neg 64 on this link. So if I was trying to get a projection using this link, and then I went out there, if this was on a coverage, it would be, say I have 3 customers that they're all getting a neg 60. Tower Coverage is projecting them at a neg 65. So it's adding too much loss. If I come in here and I turn the required reliability down and I update it, and on this link it's not going to do anything because it's not a good example. Hold on a second. We'll do it on a coverage. So on this here, this is a better example. Our required reliability, you'll see the size of this coverage currently. If we go in here and we turn it all the way down, and then we reprocess the coverage, what it's going to do is the amount of loss is going to be reduced that's being calculated into the coverage. That one was at 70. Let's see what this one was at. Yeah, 75, so it's pretty much the same. But just if anybody else has any questions, by all means, put them in there while we wait for this one to process. But if you have any other questions later on, by all means, like I said before, give us a call. The information to contact us is right down here. The wiki is available as well. So let us know. Where we want to make sure that it's working the best it can for you to help your business. So now you'll see that we got a lot with the required reliability turned all the way down. All this stuff filled in as well. So basically, like I said, it's if you do a path analysis and to this location, and what you're actually seeing at the customer side is it's projecting, Tower Coverage is projecting too weak of a signal, then you turn it down so less loss is added. If Tower Coverage is projecting too hot of a signal, you turn it up so that way more loss is added. All right, does anybody else have any other questions? All right. If we have no more questions, like I said, if you think of them later, send us an email, give us a call. But other than that, we will wrap up. Oh, I got one here. We're going to wrap up the webinar for today, but I'm going to see what other questions we have here. To view your overall network is a multi-coverage. So when you create your single coverage, you have your single coverage, you then put it into a multi-map. The multi-map is your entire network. So if you have all of your coverages, see this one has almost all of them. So everything over here. If we put them over here and hit update, it'll add the rest of them. Or you can take some out if you want and hit update, and it'll reprocess it. And whatever's included in there is the ones. To load an antenna pattern, that's in your account settings. If you go to account, antenna pattern, you can either download the creation document and create your own, or you can call the manufacturer or email the manufacturer and ask them for the radio mobile compatible .ant file. And you just come here, hit add new, and choose your file, give it a name, a beam width filter, and the manufacturer, and hit update, and it'll add it to your account. All antenna patterns that you add to your account will be available in the drop-down list when creating or editing a coverage. So they'll show up down here in the uploaded antenna patterns. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right, well, thank you all for attending. Like I said, give us a call. Let us know if we can help you out at all. Other than that, everybody have a wonderful day and enjoy TowerCoverage.com.